Euromaxx highlights. Coming up on the show, Designing Ways. German fashion guru Wolfgang Joop features his art at a show in Rostock. Dance star, flamenco performer Mercedes Ruiz receives another honor. Special focus, German photographer Leo Zidle uses old Polaroid film. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karen Helmstedt.
Hi there and welcome to our Highlights edition. Wolfgang Joop of Potsdam is one of Germany's most famous and successful fashion designers, but he's never been one to confine himself to any one activity. At 64, he's also a highly accomplished artist, and now the Kunsthalle in Rostock in northeastern Germany has given him the chance to show off some of his best work. Visitors can see Joop's many-faceted and many-winged creations until June 28th.
Rostock on the Baltic coast is currently hosting an exhibition of Wolfgang Joop's works. Called Eternal Love, the show offers a behind-the-scenes peek at his fashion creations.
I work in fashion, which is all about transience. You only have a few seconds of satisfaction or relief when a collection is finished. Then the post-delivery depression sets in, and you feel lonely and alone. It's my endeavor to describe eternity, and this is naturally eternal love.
That's why his delicate embroidered pieces bear names like Eternal Love or Forever Yours. Sketches, notes, unfinished fashions, and videos from previous shows give visitors insights into the various stages of the creative process.
I think fashion first comes alive when it's moved by a body. An unbelievable amount of practical work goes into making a dress look effortless and simple. It's similar to ballet. People spend half a year training at the bar to make a jump look easy.
Joop tours the exhibition ahead of time, accompanied by the press. He's an old hand at dealing with the media, as he can look back over a long career. In 1981, he founded the fashion label Joop, which he sold off in 2003. Joop also writes books and collects art. In 2003, he returned to his hometown of Potsdam near Berlin and created his new label Wunderkind. These clothes at the exhibition in Rostock are from Wunderkind's latest spring-summer collection.
The exhibition is very inspiring. I've never seen anything like it before. There are some which you'd require a lot of confidence to be able to wear, but others are very wearable.
Joop bridges the gap between wearable fashion and art. His versatility is also evident in the sculptures he created between 2000 and 2003. And yet Wolfgang Joop keeps returning to fashion.
Clothing symbolizes the zeitgeist, or the longing to change the status quo. I think glamour moves us all.
In Rostock, Wolfgang Joop has, for the first time, brought together his different creative endeavors in one exhibition.
When you exhibit something, whether it's something you've written, fashion you've created, or a picture you painted, the premiere is always a heart-stopper, because you're revealing a lot about yourself. I hope people will see here that I'm not superficial.
Visitors have until June the 28th to visit the exhibition in Rostock and decide that for themselves.
And we continue with a very young man who has a penchant for things old. Berlin-based photographer Leo Zidle's main tools are an old camera and a stash of old Polaroid film. Now, this is the kind of film that isn't even produced anymore, but Zidle is making the most of what he has to shoot historical buildings with a special technique that will, of course, one day be obsolete, which means every click of his shutter could be a collector's item in the making, something that bodes well for his future exhibitions.
Sanssouci Palace in Potsdam near Berlin, one of the most popular tourist attractions in Germany. It's been photographed countless times, but usually not with Polaroid film. 31-year-old Leo Zidle from Berlin has been using nothing but for the last 8 years.
When you walk around the grounds or visit the souvenir shops, you'll find hundreds of postcards and books with pictures of Sanssouci Palace. It's always the same frontal image, very glossy, technicolor blue sky and so on. What I do is a contrast to that. I take black and white or sepia pictures with Polaroid film that conveys the same sort of character you find in pictures from the last century, the 1920s. It gives the palace more atmosphere. It stays true to the palace.
Leo Zidle spends days wandering around the grounds, his trusty camera in his backpack and plenty of spare film at hand. Today, he's photographing the Church of Peace in the palace gardens for the first time. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and the light is perfect. Leo Zidle uses a plate camera. The settings are adjusted manually.
I can gauge the motifs better with my head and the camera covered with a dark cloth. Then I focus on the motif and adjust it manually.
Even the aperture and the shutter speed are adjusted by hand.
I still have 30 or 35 packs of film with 10 shots each. 10 frames, positive and negative.
Production of this particular Polaroid film was discontinued 3 years ago. Back then, Leo paid 10 euros per film. These days, they cost twice that amount. But they're past their sell-by date, so he doesn't know if they're still usable. He'll have to wait and see. 5 hours later, he's in his darkroom. He rinses off the chemicals, scans the negatives, and takes a look at his images on the computer. The longer the chemicals remain on the negatives, the more vivid the picture.
The chemicals really worked on this picture, and that means these structures here are more prominent.
2 weeks ago, Leo Zidle's first solo exhibition opened at the Galerie Bernau in the north of Berlin. It features 24 of his photographs, printed on handmade paper. Each one costs 800 euros.
Obviously, these are very familiar motifs, but they convey the charm of bygone eras, thanks to the muted colors, which make these images unusual and set them somehow apart.
Sanssouci Palace is not Leo Zidle's only subject. He's also photographed Charlottenburg Palace and Peacock Island in Berlin, and he's about to begin a project on brand new football stadiums. But Zidle says his favourites are still the palaces of old.
An old form of dancing, namely fiery Spanish flamenco, is the ground covered by Mercedes Ruiz of Spain, and her devotion is such that she's already one of the world's best in the art. At just 27, she's therefore being honoured as Best Female Dancer at the 7th Annual Movimentos Dance Festival in Wolfsburg, Germany. Now, that's an honour that's given out only every 5 years, along with a cash prize of 60,000 euros. So we went to see what it is that makes Ms. Ruiz stand out.
When Mercedes Ruiz dances, she draws on her innermost feelings. concentrated, technically perfect, and full of passion. Emotion, she says, is the key to flamenco and to experiencing magical moments while performing on stage. Currently, she's touring Japan with her new show, which is called Mi Último Secreto, My Last Secret. Back home in Spain, she's already received many awards at flamenco festivals. Now she's receiving the Movimentos Festival Award for Best Dancer. The event in Wolfsburg is a showcase for many different types of modern dance. That makes the prize all the more important to her.
It's a great source of joy to me, both personally and artistically. It's a sign of international recognition, a reward, but also a responsibility. I now have to make sure that I live up to this award.
She set up her own dance company in 2003. Guitarist Santiago Lara writes the music for the pieces. Mercedes Ruiz is responsible for the choreography. A lot is improvised, but she's clearly the one in charge. Ruiz is a perfectionist who makes difficult dance steps seem light and elegant. Here she is, practicing the farruca.
It took me a long time to master the farruca. First, I worked out the choreography. That lasted about a year. But you also have to feel it, to sense the emotion, and that takes a lot more time. You can only perform the dance and enjoy it when you've really internalized it.
Mercedes Ruiz comes from Jerez in southern Spain, a city famous for flamenco. She started dancing when she was 4 and performed in New York at the age of 12. Now she's 27 and enjoying international success. Mercedes Ruiz represents a young generation of modern flamenco dancers. The Wolfsburg Prize recognizes her importance.
I don't want to set myself goals and reap disappointment later. I want to achieve things, but I don't want to put myself under pressure. I try to live with flamenco day by day. I want to continue performing pieces where the choreography is tailored to me, which makes me feel good. Flamenco is my life.
Mercedes Ruiz does not require opulent stage sets. Her presence alone is enough.
Well, in contrast, opulent could be one of the operative words when discussing haute couture fashion, the highly stylized, often unwearable works of art we often see on the catwalks of Paris. Well, now an exhibition at the Museum Tinguely in Basel, Switzerland is making a clever comparison between modern haute couture and historical battle dress. And it's a show for the eye made all the more lively by the viewer's imagination.
Mean characters, mercenaries, mounted troops on their way into battle. A proud knight, a soldier king. And then, in the midst of the cold male world, the sensual soft element of femininity. It's haute couture by designer Roberto Capucci. The Tinguely Museum in Basel, Switzerland captures these contrasts in its exhibition Rüstung und Robe, or armor and evening dress, an original idea that makes new connections.
They're both dresses. On the one hand, there are the outer dresses, as they were called in the Middle Ages, the armor. Then there are the women's dresses, evening dresses, both luxury products. And both executed by masters and with an interesting contrast in materials, iron and silk.
Iron and silk. Perfection is in the details. The intricate evening gowns were made by the Florentine designer Roberto Capucci. He gained prominence in the 1950s by dressing the silver screen beauties of the time. The dresses in the show are all from the 1980s. Youthful compared to their male counterparts.
Although the Capucci robes were made 500 years later, they still have the same quality and workmanship. They're sculptures, so to speak. They stand on their own and don't need a mannequin. Their seams are so well made. And this perfection, that unites them.
As in fashion, there's also haute couture armor, all made to order. Lavish fittings and decorative elements. Iron can be forged at 1,100 degrees Celsius. The art of the armor smiths reached its zenith between the 15th and 18th centuries. An entire suit of armor weighed 42 kilos. It was an investment for a lifetime.
Sometimes it took 2 years for them to be delivered. Sometimes too late, as the battle was already over. They were very costly. Today's price comparison would be like having a private jet.
One prominent armor wearer is Madonna. In the mid-90s, her armored breastplates caused an uproar. The outfit was designed by French designer Jean-Paul Gaultier. You can still find armor in his collection today, and in the designs of Britain's Alexander McQueen. Armor is everywhere. Hollywood has also jumped on the medieval bandwagon. Art has also taken inspiration from martial metal. Figurines by German artist Oskar Schlemmer are the exhibition's third element. In the 1920s, the painter and sculptor ran the theater workshop of the Bauhaus School. His designs are a playful take on the idea of armor. Schlemmer's world-famous masks. And a soldier's helmet from about 1500. Ramon Schlemmer, grandson of the artist who died in 1943, contributed to the exhibition.
One aspect of these figurines is that they were made under the influence of World War I. It left a huge impression on Schlemmer, and he drew on the weaponry he saw there artistically. And he certainly provides the wonderful link between this armor and the work of Roberto Capucci.
The exhibition Armor and Evening Dress is a unique experience involving both iron and silk.
Well, maybe leave out the silk, but iron is just one of the materials that's taking over garden furniture these days. Indeed, the classic picnic table or white plastic deck set are pretty much passé. Instead, upscale garden furniture that privileges comfort and plays liberally with style is on the up and up here in Germany. Much of the decor even looks like the inside has moved outside. Here's more.
The designers of modern garden furniture are drawing their inspiration from living room furnishings and from nature itself. There's a clear trend towards lighter shapes. Sunscreens may be translucent, reminiscent of petals or clouds. What looks at first glance to be a group of stones turns out to be a sofa, which thanks to its neoprene covering is waterproof. But quality furniture isn't cheap. A designer bed can cost between 5,000 and 17,000 euros. Interior designer Katharina Säbling says the division between furniture for inside and furniture for outdoors is gradually disappearing. Increasingly, living room designs can now be seen in the garden.
In the coming years, using a mix of materials will become the norm. As we see here, for example, wood and stainless steel with a woven fabric backrest using high-tech fibers. It looks very light, and the material is also very light. The only heavy thing here is the solid teak wood, but even that is used in such a way that the furniture looks and feels very light and modern.
These days, the design standards for garden furniture are as stringent as for interior furnishings. Plastic or untreated wood are rarely used. Glass and stainless steel have become increasingly popular. You can now even get bar stools and tables for the garden. These ones have backrests. The upholstery is made of waterproof, fade-resistant materials so tables and chairs can remain outside all winter. Aside from the quality and an attractive design, garden furniture needs above all to be practical. The German firm Dedon in Lüneburg has developed a synthetic fiber for weaving furniture that weathers well and is easy to clean. For the past 10 years, the firm has been designing exclusive outdoor furniture for luxury hotels and well-heeled customers, with stunning success. Light, bright, and classy. The new garden furniture is all about relaxation. Sunscreens in rich colors replace bulky parasols. And sun loungers are simple, without any extra padding. All we need now is a long, warm summer to make the most of it all.
And don't forget, should you like to see any of those reports again, you can now find our Euromaxx highlights on YouTube. And with that, that's the end of this edition and this week. Hope you'll join us again next time. Until we meet again, ciao and auf Wiedersehen.